Glad you're here for yet another Tech Friday. And today, we're going into space from the comfort of our own home. We're going to talk about Artemis 2, that is returning home in just a few hours. And if you haven't seen the pictures, you should definitely go look at the pictures after this stream, of course. But here is the link, and there are more pictures coming that'll get you to the pictures. I wanted to go over some of the tech they are using in Artemis 2 and for this particular mission. And so first up, copy this URL, is a launch simulation tool that NASA developed. Oh, look. Hey, Nick. Welcome on in. They have a neat thing they call Launch, Ascent, and Vehicle Aerodynamics, or the LAVA framework. And this software does neat things like computational fluid dynamics and flow behavior of gases and liquids. And so they were able to run this model to determine how these things would impact sending some humans into space and making sure it was safe. So if you want to read all about it, there it is. I'm like, well, that's cool. We have a LAVA framework. Neat. And then when Artemis 2 went into space, from ground to space, was something called a near space network, was its communication hub. And then when it got to a certain point, it switched over to what they call the deep space network. So we have a near space network and a deep space network. And the deep space network was a bunch of satellites across the world, and then the information all fed back into Houston. And so going on that, here's an article for that. Let's see, where can I... Sorry, I'm looking at... None of that is what I want to do. Oh, there we go. There's the article on that. Yeah, and so oversight by NASA's SCAN, Space Communications and Navigation. There's a video on YouTube all about it, and this is how we kept in contact with the astronauts, except for that time period when they went behind the moon, because, you know, signals are hard to pass through the moon as a solid object. So they were testing this out some, and they were doing a little bit of a new communication trick with it. They were also using lasers. Yes, lasers, which is pretty awesome on its own. Here is the YouTube video of how they're keeping in contact. It's about 2 minutes long. It's a great explanation. Check it out after this stream. So the laser they have hits a orbiting satellite, and that shoots the signal down onto Earth, and then all that information once again gets collected here. So here is an article from Scientific American on that. Let me... where'd I put that article? There we go. So, here you go. New laser-based system called O2O, Orion Artemis 2 Optical Communication System. They have great things. Anyway, sends data down to Earth at 260 megabits per second, far higher than the radio links earlier missions relied on. That's pretty awesome. And then we have, look, they did an acronym soup. So they have SCAN and O2O in one sentence. Excellent. So yeah, the lasers are new, and they have 20 megabits per second back to Orion. And why the difference? Because a smaller optical receiver on Orion. They just couldn't put a big satellite dish on the shuttle. Sorry. Yeah, but this goes over all the cool stuff about aiming lasers into space and back at Earth. And so I was all like, ooh, lasers, nice. But that article goes into a lot of depth on it. And we also have a handy FAQ that NASA provides. If you have more questions about the Artemis 2 mission, go there. It's an FAQ. Read it, get some knowledges. All right. And also, of even more interest to us, where is it? Is that which one is this? Sorry, this is a long URL. The cameras that were taking pictures of the far side of the moon were Nikon D5s, which were released 10 years ago, and they were great 10 years ago, and they're still pretty great now. And also, they had GoPro Hero 4 Blacks attached to them, as well as a Nikon, oh boy, looking for the Nikon Z9, which was announced, I think, last year, 2025 in CES. Here is that really long article. And so with the Nikon Z9, what being guessed at, because Nikon and NASA worked together on this, is that they built a camera that is slightly more resistant to space radiation than a regular film camera or anything. And that's probably why they didn't use a film camera this time. One, it takes longer to put film into the camera, and when you see a picture and you're like, oh, we should take a picture of this, like when the original, or not the original Apollo, but when the Apollo mission took the famous picture of the Earth rising, as it were, on the moon, there's audio of the astronauts going, quick, give me the film. No, the film, find the film, quick. We only have a shot. And so they missed it, but then another one, their windows was at the right angle, and they go, quick, come here with the camera. And then they ran to the camera like that. And as I understand it, the eclipse part that happened recently was more of a happy accident, that they just happened to be in the right spot at the right time. The Earth rise thing, they calculated, but then when they're going, oh, look at this view that humans don't see often. And it's so cool. It was great hearing the astronauts, and some of the pictures are just the joy of the astronauts being in space doing this work and things like that, and just neat shots you don't normally get. Some of the shots are out the port windows of Orion, and they're back a little bit, so you get to see some of the inside of the capsule as well, and it's all pretty fantastic. So I'm looking at these pictures, and as something came across my feed on Blue Sky, where since the astronauts are on the far side of the moon, someone said, well, if they're on the far side of the moon, where's the light coming from? And that was the reaction of most people, was face palming. So if you don't understand it, I came up with a demonstration. All right, so my face is the moon, okay? It's the side of the moon that always faces the Earth, because the Earth and moon are what's called a tidal line, and it just happens to be our spins and everything and rotations are such that one side of the moon will always face us. So my face, the Earth, is this D20, which is not representational of size at all. So we're both spinning, and as you can see, my lights, say the lights over here that are on my face are the sun, and then as it spins and I spin, oh, look what's going to happen. The light hit the back of the chair because we rotated around in front of the sun. Yeah. Also, you know what also is cool? The sunlight can bounce off the Earth onto the moon as well. Yeah. So in case anyone ever wonders why there's so much light in some of these pictures, that's why. Things rotate in space in certain ways. And so there's some pictures where you can see the far side of the moon lit up, and it's kind of dark on one path, but some of the light is lower, and the light's coming in more from the side. That's the light of the Earth, or the sunlight that hit the Earth bouncing back onto the moon, just like the moon bounces light to the Earth. Yeah, and I'll probably be tuning into the live stream later tonight to see what they show us of the splashdown. And, the moon is cool. And this whole thing was great and filled me with joy when a lot of the world isn't. And I think it was kind of a moment we all needed. Like, here's the moon. Here are people experiencing this thing that human eyes don't see normally. And we get these very real reactions to what's going on. They're not just reporting facts to us, but they're also saying what they experienced and what it looks like to them. And it was absolutely fantastic. I can't wait till we get more pictures up on NASA's website, because I want to look at all of them. Also, there is another article about the cameras I found right here. The headline was a little clickbaity at some points, but okay. Let's see here. That was because the end where Canon and Sony fail, and they don't really mention that at all. So I'm like, really? You had to put that in? But there is some good information about the Nikon cameras and the GoPros in there. So if you want to check that out, there it is. All right. So if you want to talk about space and Artemis 2, put it in chat. We'll we'll chat about it. And I can tell you all about my limited understanding of space and how things work. I like space. Space is pretty cool. All right, let me set up a thing real quick. And okay, so next up is Google Chrome. They released a couple of new features. Other web browsers have had these features, but Chrome is finally getting them. And one of them is a reader view. So sort of like the Obsidian reader thing I showed you last week or two ago. And vertical tabs. And I'll show the reader view first. So there's the article, 9 to 5 Google does a good job of telling you all about it. But you go into we're back on Ars Technica, looking at an article about the Artemis 2 mission, and you right click and you say open in reading mode. And then to the side here, we get this fancy article. Now I have to say, out of the reader views I saw that I was trying out in different web browsers, this is one of the cleanest I've seen. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I see. Sorry. I accidentally had my mouse move while I was moving my hand around. But this is one of the cleanest I've seen. It has nice contrast, and yeah, you just right click and the reader view comes up. Now on other web browsers like Firefox or the Zen web browser, which is what I usually use when I'm showing you all Tech Friday links, it's the F9 key. But here you have to right click on the page and select that. And that was quickly available for me. So, and then I can just close, but you can pin it. You can adjust a whole lot of things here. Rather nice. Then when you're done, just hit X. It goes away. Now the other thing is vertical tabs. Now the vertical tab thing did not show up for me right away. I had to find another setting to do it in, but they should be, my understanding is they should be a thing. So here I have 2 tabs open, the Ars Technica and Engadget tab. I can right click and I can say move tabs to the side, and now they're over here. I can hide this if I want to. And I can just click between the tabs. It goes back and forth like that. Now then, if that move tabs to the side option doesn't appear for you, there is a way to let me put my tabs back where they are, or where they should be. There we go. There is a way to activate it thanks to this post on Reddit. So you go to Chrome://flags and you get this window and you can search for flags. You see experiments, available, unavailable, all these things. I don't know what these are, but if you want vertical tabs, I had to search for vertical tabs. It may not appear right up top for you. And then you just come over here and decide if you default, if it was an option, you can enable or disable. So I enabled that so I could see how they work. And there's a bunch of others that I'm not going to touch. So just go to the Chrome://flags and you can have vertical tabs in your Chrome browser if they're not in another browser that you use or whatever. But yeah, so Chrome did a couple good things for a change. And, they also have the side-by-side tab thing now, so you can open 2 tabs and have them both open right next to each other, which is another fantastic feature. Then I have to find a setting real quick here. There is a Windows 11 camera setting I did not know about that you could do. Let me see if I can find it again. It is it Bluetooth and devices? Oh, crud. Where'd it go? Just give me a moment while I look for this again. Because now I can't remember how to get to it. Personalization? No, that's not it. Let's see here. Oh, it should have been there. Okay, let me look again. So how y'all doing while I'm clicking buttons? Okay, that's fine. Oh, there it is. Okay, I have it. Let me see if I can select a different thing. Say the Elgato virtual camera. All right, so you go to Windows 11 has a camera setting that allows you to use your camera as a virtual camera in multiple apps instead of having to say go to OBS and start a virtual camera and that type of thing. So you go to Bluetooth and devices, cameras, you pick a camera, and this isn't going to work because I'm using the camera currently. I'm in Bluetooth, cameras, Elgato virtual cam is what I selected. You go to advanced camera options, edit, and then allow multiple apps to use camera at the same time. You turn that on and you can have some fun. So that will allow you to use one camera multiple places across Windows. So make sure you use that. Let me do a thing real quick. Need a quick marker there. All right, let's see. That's Windows 11 stuff I wanted to talk about. And now, yeah, AT Protocol, which stands for Authenticated Transfer Protocol, which is what Blue Sky runs on. And you can use your AT Proto login, I suppose, on multiple services. And the idea is, again, going into this decentralized internet. And here's the Wikipedia on it. And so what it allows you to do is not only to use one login for multiple places, but also take your data with you and read data from other places in a different place. So it's kind of like cross-compatibility, except web-based. And, you know, with the idea of being decentralized, no billionaires can come in and just ruin everything. So there's a couple terms that the applications using AT Proto, or again, the AT Protocol, are within what they call the atmosphere. It uses JSON, and they verify your identity with something called a decentralized identifier, or DID. So you'll see that a lot. And then there are lexicons or schema that are intended to eliminate user lock-in. And the one example I know of right now is Standard Site, which is taking 3 kind of micro-blogging platforms, Pocket, Leaflet, and Offprint. And because they're all following the Standard Site schema, you can easily take your posts from one to the other, and there's interoperability there that we normally wouldn't have. Also, just today was a long Blue Sky post about what to call your Atmosphere account, things like that, because they're like, well, it's not really just a Blue Sky account. Blue Sky account is Blue Sky account. This affects all these apps. And I think AT Proto is pretty cool. However, as Brian pointed out the other day, it's going to be down to adoption. How many people pick up these AT Proto sites? And then I'm wondering about security, because we do have the problem of one login for all these sites. Now, if you go to another AT Proto site and use your Blue Sky login, it does ask you for your two-factor authentication thingy to log into that particular site. So there's a little bit of security there, but still, I don't know. Unless I'm missing something about how it works and how it keeps your identity to you, it knows it's you, which could be, you know, the advice that has been around forever is that you have a separate login, or at least a separate password for every single site you visit. But with two-factor authentication and that, how important is that? I don't know anymore. I just haven't had time to research that. So if you know any of that, let me know. I'd like to know. That'd be great. And so I think it's really, really cool to have this decentralized platform, and people are starting to do things with it. But it needs more attention. It needs more traction, because I think it's an interesting way forward. I know for the training we get at work, it always recommends both two-factor authentication and separate user info across all logins. Yeah, and I haven't really seen these security things mentioned around AT Proto yet. They're like, hey, this is cool, and I agree, this is cool, and people should definitely be building things around it. And I'm sure over time, as this expands, there will be the things that survive, right, that we all go to, because there's already photo sharing sites, and there's a streaming site you can use, and there's all these services that are attached to your AT Proto account. Even without a security concern, I sure regret using my Facebook account for logging into Spotify, because then wanting to share music with anyone docs me. Oh yeah. And that, I mean, there's something to be said for going across services and saying, this is me, and this keeps being me. But also, there's the security things that I haven't really heard much about, and I really don't know enough about AT Proto to know if there's something in there, something within the identifier that mitigates some of that somehow. But it is an option. I'm thinking of making a little newsletter zine thing, electronic version of a zine, and using one of these AT Proto services, because it will do a lot. And they're independent creators, and they're making cool things. Like these sites look nice, and they operate well, but they're still new. and they're still being built out. And like I said, cool idea. I'd like to see more people get involved in using it, and some more videos to further my understanding of the technology. It would be fantastic. Yeah. So I like the theory behind it. I just have that security concern, and we need more adoption of it to really take off. And I hope it does. I hope it stays around for a while. I like a lot what's going on with the communities I'm seeing spring up around it, things like that. All right. So now we're going to burst into TTRPG news. First thing up will be this neat thing. A couple of weeks ago, I shared a TTRPG resources that avoid AI that are human created. And so here is another website along the same line. They have, wait, what's this? In space news, that have been informed there are 2 Artemis plushies. If you find a link, you should definitely post that. How cool is this? Not only was it a really exciting moon mission? Can try a Discord attachment link. Sure, you're a VIP, so you should be able to link whatever here. Not only was the moon mission cool, but we also have plushies, and that's neat. Okay, that was a picture. Oh, I see. Yes, the arrows pointing to them. Yes. Yeah, so take a look at that picture. There are 2 red arrows pointing to plushies. Excellent. Love it. Bedtime sleep mask version and wake time without one. Excellent. All right. So TTRPG stuff. A week or 2 ago, I shared a website that was a nice list of human created TTRPG resources that you could use. This one is along similar veins, except it's more concentrated on steampunk. So no steampunk AI art. So there's a bit of an article, and then they give you recommendations of what you can do, like free media sites, public domain content, public domain artwork for sale, some comic books, depending on the age of the comic books. So yeah, check that site out if you're looking for steampunk related things and you're not going to use AI. That'd be excellent. And we have a couple friends doing Kickstarters for things that we have to talk about. So, Broken Door Entertainment, creators of the Paragon's role-playing game, superhero TTRPG, they have a Kickstarter for a starter set. The Paragon's role-playing game is out. You can get it. It's fantastic. But now they're trying to fund a starter set. So if you can help them out, do so. That'd be excellent. There's the Kickstarter link. It looks great. You have it. There's a bunch of bundles. There's even just $1 general support. There's even a bundle for people who back the original Kickstarter, and you already have a copy of the core rule book. You just get the new stuff, and it's a neat game. Definitely check that out. Yeah, hi Rex. And then we also have friend Mimics and Misfits has a Kickstarter for a game called Duality, which sounds pretty cool. Basically, you are heroes that jump between worlds, and that jumping between worlds is part of the game mechanic. As well, there was an excellent interview with Matt from Mimics and Misfits over on Chaotic Wholesome. But here's the Kickstarter link for Duality. Looks awesome. So two awesome Kickstarters from really cool people. Check them out. Fund them if you can. We want to see these things in the world. Can't be the only person who keeps thinking of Slipknot when that Kickstarter is mentioned, right? And check out Chaotic Wholesome Presents stuff. You should be checking out Chaotic Wholesome Presents things anyway. I'm sure they'll have that interview up on their YouTube in the near future. Yeah, check both of those out. That would be excellent. All right, and I think we're going to go into break time. So, thank you all for being here. There is more to come if you're watching live. If you're watching the VOD later on YouTube, that's it for Tech Friday. Come on back next week for another episode of Tech Friday. It'll be great. I'm sure there'll be fantastical stuff to talk about. It's a word. Anyway, do me a favor, like and subscribe. The things are down there usually. So hit the things. See more tech stuff. Yeah, I'll see you all next week. Thanks for being here.